Your thoughts are not your own. You've inherited them. You've inherited them from social media, the news, books, education systems. Everything that has ever in any way guided you has affected the way that you've thought. And you're living your life in the secondhand point of view because of this. You're not the first person. You're not the one that's generating your thoughts. And why this is important, this is not some like grand statement against anything. It's more so a statement about individuality and freedom and what it means to be you and what it means to find yourself, because I promise you'll never be able to live a happy life following someone else's guidance, following someone else's rules for you. You have to kind of figure those out for yourself. So one book can break you out of this paradigm. One book can set you free. One book can get you out of this. And I thankfully have 6 of them for you. So hopefully you pick up one of these. Hopefully one of these shakes you to your core and rearranges your life in a way that is more pleasant for you. So the first thing we have is Emerson's essays, and in particular self-reliance. Self-reliance is the best of his essays, especially when it comes to this sort of idea. And what self-reliance will teach you is that regardless of what you can do in this world, nothing comes close to the satisfaction of living your life as you are. Living your life as you are inspired to be and not conforming for the sake of conformity. Emerson has a quote in this where he says, to the individual, the greatest achievement is to be yourself in a world that seeks for everyone else to be like. And to me, what that really means is that any achievement that you have, regardless of what it is, can be replicated by someone else, but what can't be replicated is you. Nobody else in this world brings exactly what you bring, and to deny the world of that is a great sacrilege. And, you know, Emerson's Self-Reliance is only about 14 pages, but you can pretty much stop the video there. If you read Self-Reliance, you don't need to look at another video. You don't need to find guidance. You don't need anything else for the rest of your life. If you read Self-Reliance, you know how to be yourself. Next thing is Das Buch Zarathustra by Friedrich Nietzsche. What this is really about is about finding yourself, about becoming the best version of yourself, about becoming unbound by everything that has ever held you back. And I don't often recommend this as much as other books purely from the fact that it's allegory, but it's Nietzsche at his best. It's Nietzsche at his most poetic, and there are parts in this that I don't think are put any other way better in any of his other works. So that's why I will recommend this today, and especially because this book is all about the breaking away of the individual from the collective. Next thing we have is The Red Book by Carl Gustav Jung. And this is one of Jung's weirder books. I don't know if you are familiar with Jung, but this is not the first book I would recommend. But if you are ready to undertake the task of reading this book, then you are ready to figure out what it means to be a human. You're ready to find your soul. Essentially, Jung starts this book by saying to the outside observer, this is going to seem like madness, but to me, it was the cause of all of my greatness. It was the cause of why I was such a good doctor, why I was so effective. And essentially what it is Jung confronting his own demons, Jung going to the depths of his own psyche, the depths of his own symbolic dreams and daydreams and visions and stuff to kind of come to grips with who he was and kind of finally, once and for all, accept the demons of his past and be able to move forward. And, you know, really what this book is about is Jung confronting the aspects of himself that he was neglecting, Jung confronting the darkness inside of him, which really was the aspects of himself that he was not fulfilling in a healthy manner. Think about it this way. If you're an angry person, then you express that anger, but you could also express that emotion in more productive ways. So, you know, anger, emotions, passion, it's all sort of the same thing. It all comes from the same source. And, you know, think about it. You could turn that into a comedy routine. Think about how many of the most angry people in the world, think of Patrice O'Neill, just turn that into joy for other people. Or, you know, a better example would be to, you know, instead of putting all of your energy into a hateful relationship, put it into a fruitful one. You know, you can spend all your day hating on somebody, but you could also put that same energy to the people you love. And essentially that's the deepness of this book. But through this journey of healing yourself, you find who you really are. And essentially that's what Jung's entire psychological system's founded upon. And I know you're going to find a lot in this book. The next thing we have is Island by Aldous Huxley. This is the only story. I guess this is a story. If you're not familiar with Aldous Huxley, he wrote one of the 2 best dystopian novels of all time, Brave New World. I think Brave New World and 1984 are essential reads, but Brave New World is more so about the world being taken over by distraction. People can't focus on things. People are all hopped up on all sorts of drugs. There's all sorts of social conditioning, and people don't even realize that they are in chains. Their chains look so nice that they don't understand that they're weighted down by them. And really, what Island is it's Huxley's final work that he wrote before he died, and it's really a antidote to Brave New World. It's really an antidote to the collective distraction that was Huxley was kind of predicting. I guess you could say he's predicting. He wrote it in 1932, and now more than ever, every day that goes by, it looks more and more like Brave New World. But what Island talks about in particular, there's a section that really struck me, especially when it comes to the individual, especially when it comes to finding yourself and finding what it means to be yourself, is that there's these birds that fly around this island that's kind of this utopia, that's kind of this place that broke off from the rest of society and created its own rules and did its own thing, and every piece of technology benefits the individual as well as benefits society. And there's this real focus on fixing yourself so that you can be the best you can be for others, that everyone helps themselves first and then helps each other because they have enough. And I think it's a brilliantly written book, but the part that I want to talk about is that these birds fly around, and the entire book they're yelling attention, 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 to symbolize the importance of keeping your attention, of putting your attention into things that are purposeful, that are meaningful. Don't put your time, energy, and attention into things that aren't fruitful for you. Think of your energy, your attention as the greatest investment that you can have. If you put your investment into something that is worthwhile, it's going to pay dividends into the future. But if you continually waste your time, if you continually focus on hatred, on anger, on dissatisfaction, on the news, on things that don't really do anything for you, then you're going to continue to exist in the same paradigm. And to me, I think this is one of the greatest allegories for spending your energy into to productive things. But yeah, on to the next book. The next book is The Power of Awareness. Simply put, Neville Goddard talks about how imagination creates reality. Whether you believe it or not, doesn't matter. This is one of the best books that will teach you how to focus your time and energy onto things that you want. Before you can create anything in this world, you need to first think about it. You need to have an idea about it. You need to have faith in this idea, and then you can carry it out. That's what this book will teach you. I'm not going to go into more detail because it's just going to get bogged down. That's really the genesis of this work, and we will get into the last one. The last part of this video is going to be focused on William Blake. This is the complete poems, but there's a particular section in this called The Marriage of Heaven and Hell. And The Marriage of Heaven and Hell is something that if you like poetry, you need to read. I really, really, really think it's one of the greatest works I've ever read, and to me, it was one of the most inspiring things. I sat down to read it, and I didn't stop until I was finished. It's probably around 30, 40 pages, I can't remember exactly, but more or less what it's about is the idea of contrast, the idea of necessity for contrast, and all sorts of things. But there's a huge section devoted to what Blake calls the Proverbs of Hell, which is essentially heretical ideas that are in fact necessary for the evolution of man and the evolution of society as a whole. And the one thing about Blake that you'll learn is that imagination is the key, that if you have an imagination, then you can get through anything. There's a part of the Proverbs of Hell, I think it is, that basically Blake says a mechanical mind cannot recreate or recapture the works of Shakespeare or the works of Dante, but they can try. But even if they wrote 10,000 works, it wouldn't hold a candle in the wind to the works of Shakespeare. And essentially what he's saying there is that a work of a creative master is far beyond anything else, and if you really want the key to this world, it's through the human imagination. It's through the cultivation of the imagination. And the more open-minded you are, the more open-ended the problem is, the more solutions you can find. Think of the Teslas, the Edisons, the Einsteins, the people that kind of redefine the world as we see it. That is really what we should be striving for. And the more you can work on your imagination, the more things can figure themselves out simply through creative thinking. With that said, any one of these books can set you free. Any one of these books can give you the reality that you're looking for. And the reality that you're really looking for, it's not 1,000 cars. It's not a fancy house. It's not $1 million in the bank. What you're looking for is yourself. If you find yourself, then you are content. And if you find contentment, that is all you need out of life. I love you guys so much. Thank you guys so much. If you want to read something else, go ahead and read my book. If not, I still love you guys all the same.